This is the IDX Broker webinar for best practices for SEO options for within IDX Broker. Some of you may know I am not Tony, I'm Alec. Tony's unable to make it today, so I'm going to take over for him, and I will do the best that I can to go over all this content. As you all know, SEO is very important. Your website can be as great can be, but if nobody is able to find that website, it really does you no good. In real estate, obviously, location, 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 but on the web, it is SEO, SEO, SEO. Search engine optimization, making sure that when people type in a search term that relates to what you do, in your case, probably real estate or real estate in your specific market, that those visitors are going to be able to find you to find the answers and to find the properties that they're looking for. Today, we're going to go over taking credit or getting all of the SEO credit and the SEO juice you can for your specific website. We're going to go over dynamic page content, and that's the content that's for your details pages or for some of your other pages that changes, but making sure that you have unique content that all of the search engines really eat up and really push you to the top of those lists. We're going to go over some of the mobile responsive options that are available within IDX Broker. There's a couple of those available, and we'll go over when to choose one over the other and what might fit your situation the best. We're going to go over some sitemaps. Now, we do have two different sitemaps available. We have an HTML sitemap, and then we have an XML sitemap, and I'll kind of go over the best ways to use both of those to really tell Google and to tell your visitors what's on your website. And then we're going to go over just really quickly creating neighborhood pages, which content is always king. It has been for quite a while. It will continue to be so. And neighborhood pages give you that unique content that shows off your special niche that you might have, and it gives a little bit of boost there. First of all, taking credit. And this really gets down to creating a CNAME record for your IDX Broker pages. So a CNAME or a subdomain in IDX Broker changes how all of your content is viewed on websites, but also changes how Google and Bing and Yahoo and all of the search engines relate to your IDX Broker pages. By default, you may have noticed that your IDX Broker pages are your website.idxbroker.com. So the your website part in the beginning is a subdomain, and it's a subdomain of idxbroker.com. So when a search engine goes and looks over the internet and finds all of your IDX Broker pages, if it says idxbroker.com, the .com part's the really important part, it will give credit to IDX Broker and says, well, this is obviously an IDX Broker page, or all of the SEO credit goes to idxbroker.com. So setting up a CNAME and a subdomain will change that and will get you the credit that you deserve to your domain, your .com or .org or .net instead of IDX Broker. People do ask if there's a difference in the subdomain that you choose. So that first part. Here in this example, and this is a GoDaddy example right here, you're going to set up a CNAME or an alias record on your host server, and that is going to take a specific name, which is that subdomain, that first part, and then point it to subdomains.idxbroker.com. That first part, I've never really noticed that there's any difference if you choose search or homes or whatever. I've had people choose something super long, which isn't necessarily really great because it's just complicated and it fills up your whole address bar, which can also disrupt some of the other settings in IDX Broker if you use a polygon search or something that could get to the limit on that URL. But other than that, there's no big difference. I typically wouldn't use www because that can often be taken by your host for a different purpose. So you can use that, but be wary that it's not used for something else, or there could be a conflict, and that could mess some things up. Also, please note that many MLSs restrict you using MLS dot as your subdomain. So if you choose to use that, please check your MLS rules before that. But you're usually safe with a homes dot or a search dot or even IDX dot, whatever your website is. So those are typically best. Once you've gone in, you've chosen your name, your homes dot, search dot. You could even do a city, Las Vegas dot, myhomesearch.com. You're going to enter that into your host, which could be different, but it typically looks something similar like this. Point that to subdomains.idxbroker.com. But that's only half the battle. So you've set that up in your host name. You have that pointed. That's great. But IDX Broker doesn't know anything about that. So to solve that, we're going to go ahead and log into our IDX Broker account. Then we're going to go to Account. If you can use a host of 4 W's, I suppose. I would double check, just play around with that. That may work for you. In this case, Silver Lining Realty Group. So yeah, play around with that. It might be a little confusing. If there's an extra W, people might put just the 3 W's instead of the 4. But yeah, play around with it. As long as it's not taken and used by something else, you should be good with that. But once you've chosen that, we're going to go to Account. And then we're going to go to Account Info. So we can scroll down here a little bit. In the middle of this page, you'll see the subdomain and domain control. Here's my default. In my case, it's my website, which is supportwp, and then dot and the idxbroker.com. I'm going to use a custom one. Then I'm going to type something in here. So I'm going to use search support.idxinbox.com, which mine's a little complicated because it's a test site. Now, you may have seen that it glowed green there. If it glows green, you're good to go. Often, it'll be red, which means there could be a problem, or you might just have to wait a little bit. Sometimes when you first set up a CNAME, your host takes a little while for that to propagate throughout the entire internet. And so if it's set up correctly, you've double-checked it, and it still shows up red, I would just check a couple hours, maybe up to 24 hours, just to see if it's just a matter of propagation. And then if you do have any issues where it's still not working, go ahead and give us a call or shoot us an email at help@idxbroker.com, and we can troubleshoot that a little bit and see what's going on there. So I have my CNAME set up. I've turned it on. Boom. Now my website is getting all of the credit. This does actually change the URLs for all of the pages that you've already created. So if you're setting up a new site, definitely do this first before you put any of those links on your website, because all of them within IDX Broker will automatically change. You won't have to make any other setting changes within IDX Broker, but if you've put that external link on your website, that will have to be changed. Unless you're using something like WordPress that's going to automatically update those with the plugin. Otherwise, be careful, because back on your website, if it's still pointing to your site.idxbroker.com, you're going to have to change that to be the new search.yourwebsite.com for the subdomain. You have potentially thousands of pages available to you through IDX Broker from all of the details pages. So each property has a page that can be indexed by Google, by Bing, by Yahoo. And all of these pages have good content on them. It's unique, but we may need to tweak this a little more. We can customize the URL. We can customize the titles, the subheaders. We can do a lot with these pages to make them even more unique so that they stand out, so that they're good both for unique content for people and for robots, because we want to make sure that Google recognizes them, as well as they're just easy to use for your visitors that come to your website. So you can change the content, the URL, the keywords, the meta tags on most of your IDX Broker pages. But I'm right now going to focus on the details pages, because those are the most customizable here. So if you go to Designs and Pages, this is where all of your basic IDX Broker pages live. So you can look at the links here. and you can add these to your website. But then there's some pages that are dynamic. Your basic results page is dynamic because if someone does a search, that search results page is going to be different from, someone else searching for 2-bedroom, 2-bath homes, and one person's looking for, a condo. So these are going to be dynamic. The details pages will also be dynamic because it's going to change depending on each individual property. But fortunately, we can actually accommodate for that. So we can go down to the details. We're going to edit these page preferences. And the first tab that shows up is SEO settings. So when we're changing settings for the details pages, right here we have quite a few options. We have the URL up here. So we have obviously your site. We have the MLS ID by default, which is something specific to IDX Broker. So it may be A105 or B278. That's just an ID that we give for your specific MLS so that we can tell it apart from some of the other MLS. Then we have the listing ID, which is specific property number. Then we have this section right here, which you can actually update on your own and make this unique. So you can change these around just by clicking and dragging them. So I can have my address at the end. I could remove some of these, or say I don't want the full state, I can actually put state. If you start typing something, it'll pull it up. You can pull in that state abbreviation. I can put the listing ID again if I wanted to, but I don't. You can also sometimes add in some additional fields if you know what that field name is. So this will pull in subdivision. It's not currently in the preview, but some of these are available. They're just, they don't show up on here, but sometimes you can pull them in via advanced fields. For the dynamic title text, this is pulled in a different way, but you can just push this add button up here, and then it gives you a list of the fields that you can have. So I can add in county in here if I want. And then you can put in the description and the keywords. Now, the description and the keywords aren't as important as they once were, but if your keywords and your description matches content that's in your pages, Google will still look at that and will still raise your SEO credit. So just putting in random keywords is not going to help you at all. But if these keywords do match existing content on your pages, it'll give a little more validity and a little higher ranking. You can actually change the URL. If you're going to do this, do it at the beginning before your pages are indexed and before you've put a lot of links on it, because these will actually break your links if you already have them on there and then you change them later. But this information is great because it'll change. This is the remarks. So for every property, it'll give a different remarks. It'll make this page have totally unique content, which helps. If they're all the same, Google will say, oh, well, that's all the same content, and that's going to give you lower rankings because it doesn't want to put 100 things that are exactly the same at the first spot on Google. So here's your basic settings for details pages. You can also go in and edit the preferences on some of these other pages. I would definitely recommend going in all of these and checking out the search, the SEO settings. Here on your map search, there's no page title. When it comes up, there's no description or keywords. These ones aren't dynamic on this page, but I would certainly go through and edit these just to give you a little bit of extra ranking. And keywords on their own won't do anything, but they do actually still reinforce the other content on your pages. This is one of our newer settings, but it's actually really cool. You have all this stuff that only search engines see, right? So you have your meta tags, you have your page title, which people can see, but it's not as obvious. We can do something that both increases the search engines and is just pretty and kind of cool too. So we can do this by, we can actually go to subheaders. And if we go into pages, we can actually edit the details pages, and we can add dynamic headings right here. So a subheader is the information that shows up right above the actual IDX Broker content. So we can add in information here about this specific property so that when people are looking at your site and they land on a page, the first thing they see is very specific to that content. And these are going to be header tags. So these are going to be like an H1 tag or something like that, which also will increase and reinforce your ranking with Google. So to do this, all we're going to do is we're going to start in this subheader section by 2 opening curly brackets. Once you do that, you'll see that a drop-down comes up with all of the content that IDX Broker has for you. So for a property, I might say I want to do property type in, and then a specific city name for, and then a price tag, listing price. Okay, so here is my dynamic content. To make it work, I'm going to select it all and change it from a paragraph tag to a heading 1 tag. Okay, that's that. I'm going to save my changes. Okay, now when I go to one of my pages, I'm going to just do a basic search here. I'm going to pull up the very first result, and boom, come to this page. I have single family in Miami Beach for $7.5 million. This is really handy. Google will look at that, people will look at that, because otherwise they're just going to see this, next property, new search, this. They can dig down for this information, but right now it's really easy to see. And if I go to my next property, because I just picked on this one, I know all the content for that, but if I go to next property, I can see, oh, this is a condo townhome in Bal Harbour for $5.35 million. So it's really quick and easy. It should match the styling of the rest of your page. That came out, I say new, but it's probably been a year since that came out, but it's a really cool addition in there that you can add to your sites. Mobile responsiveness. I'm sure you've heard of Mobilegeddon. It's been a while, but we're still in the same era. Google likes mobile responsive content. So if someone is searching on a mobile device, and they likely are, you want to give them the best experience possible. And search engines do too. So they're going to rank a mobile responsive site higher than the one that's not. And so IDX Broker has a couple different ways to do this. So by default, we're using some of the templates that don't necessarily have a mobile responsiveness, and we also don't know if your site is mobile responsive. So we have some settings that take over when you hit an IDX Broker page and make it a mobile responsive page. But it's fairly generic, not a lot of branding. It's nice because you hit an IDX Broker page, boom, it's mobile responsive. I can do a search. I can do stuff really easily. That's in Preferences, Global Preferences, and you're going to find those mobile responsive options in the mobile. I have them turned off because I'm using a mobile first wrapper, mobile first template, so I have this turned off. But by default, your account will probably have this turned on, and that basically puts a black bar on the top of your screen. It puts it in a vertical format for all your content. It's really easy to use, but it looks pretty much like any other IDX Broker page that has a mobile wrapper on it. First, make sure that the rest of your site is mobile responsive, and then I would actually suggest, if you're mobile responsive and if you like the mobile first wrappers, the mobile first templates, I would turn this off, and I would use our other options, which are in Designs and Pages. And then you can actually edit the layout or the template of each of these. And we currently have one template that's mobile first. So it was built for mobile, and then it scales up to whatever size you want. So this will make it so your pages look the same on a mobile device, on a tablet, on a desktop. Anywhere you're going to get the same branding, the same schemes, the same menu. All of that's going to be the same across all devices, which will give a better for your branding and it'll give a more seamless experience. You can see we have many templates, and you can use any of these other ones. They're fine, but they're not necessarily going to be responsive. So I would suggest actually using this mobile first option and then using CSS to fiddle with the colors and the styling and make it fit well. But then that will size automatically without any fancy stuff. It will automatically size to however large your device is. So sitemaps. We've had HTML sitemaps available for a long time, and those are simply links that Google will find, and they'll follow those links and chase that trail down and then find all those pages that are available on your site. But now we also have XML sitemaps. And while you could use one or the other, it's typically best to use both. I'll show you where to find those. And then typically people will use the HTML sitemap, which can also be followed by just a human visitor to your site. And they'll usually put that maybe somewhere down in your footer, so it's accessible, but it's not super obvious. And then the XML sitemap will just be to submit to Google, and it's just an easy machine-readable code, so they'll know exactly what pages belong to your site that are from IDX Broker. So those are found actually where the rest of your pages are found. If you go to Designs and Pages, scroll all the way down here, and you'll have your HTML sitemap, and you can find the link for that right here. And then you can find the link to your XML sitemap here, and you could submit that to Google. Now, please note that you will need Google Webmaster Tools in order to submit this. Once you have Google Webmaster Tools, you will also have to add your subdomain that you will have created in step 1 of this webinar. You'll have to add that as a property, and then you'll also have to verify the domain. So when you verify the domain, it'll give you a little bit of code. You'll put that code in the header of your website. Google will find that, recognize, oh, this is you. You do own this site. Okay, let's move forward. And then it will accept your XML sitemap. Please only submit the sitemap once, because every time you submit that sitemap, some people think, oh, if I do this every week, it'll increase my traffic. It actually does the opposite. So every time you submit that sitemap, Google says, oh, something new. I'm going to clear out all of the other pages that I've already indexed, and I'm going to start from scratch with this new sitemap. So you don't want that. You want all of the existing pages, and you just want it to build and build and build and build with new content. So you're just going to submit that once and leave it. So content is king. Some people go all out and create thousands of community pages. I would create as many as you have time for, and make sure that you're building them into your niche. So if you support 55 and older communities, make some 55 and older, maybe make some in a budget range, or some in a specific area of town, or some that allow pets, or, so you can create all these community pages. They make it easier for visitors to come in. They don't have to do a search. They don't have to figure out what all of your field settings are. They can just say, oh, I'm looking for 55 and older communities in Shadow Hills. Perfect. Or I like to golf, so I'm looking for places near a golf course in Maine, in a specific neighborhood. And they can just click on that, and you can create these, what we actually call saved links, that'll automatically pull in those search results for those specific settings. So I'm going to go through setting one up. There's a couple other tricks you can do while you're doing these as well. So these are great for human visitors to find exactly what they're looking for right off the bat. They're great to give unique content for Google and Bing and Yahoo to really eat up. But also remember that when you're adding pages or when you're adding images, you're also going to want to use alt tags, because Google can't see an image. They just see the text that's written on that page, and you want it just as easy for it to see as for one of the human to see. So to create a saved link, Just going to go to Preferences in my IDX Broker middleware, Saved Links, and Create. Here you're presented with many search pages that you can base your search on. So I'm just going to pick an advanced search. Google doesn't necessarily like your details pages as much as it will really eat up content on a saved link. So when you have a saved link that pulls search results, it will index this and it will find all of your addresses right there. So when I pull this up, I may have a list of 17 properties. Well, Google will find those right away and it'll index those properties. And then when somebody searches for, 725 Sesame Street, boom, it'll pull up my saved link, right there, all the content. I can put a subheader above that content that tells you all about Sesame Street and how it's a great place to live, and it has great neighbors. And I can put some images there that'll really attract people to stay on that page, learn more about the community, and go ahead and look at some of those properties and start saving those searches maybe, and call you up and say, hey, I want to live on Sesame Street. Show me how to get there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull an advanced search. I like advanced searches because they give me the most options. Now, if you have multiple MLSs on your account, you might actually want to search a basic search because the great thing about a basic search is it will automatically search all of your MLSs at the same time. So you don't have as many options there, but you can still type in a city, you can still type in a price range, you can still type in some of these core fields and it will search through multiple MLS instead of just the one. But in this case, I'm just doing an advanced search. I'm going to search through my single MLS. And I'm going to search for maybe some single family homes. And I want something where there are pets allowed. Okay. I've seen some people search for horse properties, in Montana or something. You can do items that are a foreclosure only or short sale properties, anything that one of your visitors might be searching for. At any point, you can view the results in the new window just to make sure you're pulling up the right results. And there's nothing funky going on there. When I'm done, I'm going to go to my next step. And here's the SEO magic. So step 3 is all about SEO settings. I'm going to create a page title for this. So I'm going to do pet-friendly homes. Here the trick is getting something specific enough that people can search for it and find it right away without being too long that it's cut off on the end. So I think pet-friendly homes is probably good enough for this example. I can do whatever meta tags and stuff here. And then subheader. So you can save this now, come back to it later, but I like putting in some extra content in the subheader because it's pretty. It makes it more unique instead of just these properties that could be on other pages. And allow for cute and cuddly pets. You can also add images. You can also even embed videos in this content. Now, we don't have the bandwidth or the storage space for you to upload videos or images on these subheader pages, but you can add links to them. So I can add a link to this, find a really good image, make sure that you give it description, title, just so that robots can read it as well, and possibly for screen readers or something like that to make it ADA compliant. So do this, insert that guy. See, I didn't give a description, so it gives me a warning. Filter guy. There we go. So this is going to be above my content, really to spell out what this saved link is all about. I can turn the WYSIWYG off if I just want some HTML code. And it will actually give you the warning. So it'll give you a warning that says, oh, people with disabilities, that can't see this won't be able to do it. That'll show you that you're not using those alt tags properly. So you can assign this link. Maybe I want Becky to get all the leads from this link because she specializes in pet homes. Maybe somebody specializes in a certain value of homes. Maybe somebody specializes in first-time home buyers. Whatever you want, you can actually assign these so they get all the links. In this case, I'm going to leave it up. I'm just going to let the lead registration and routing do its thing. Going to save and manage my links. So there. I have Pet Friendly Homes. Brand new link I can put on my website. Give me some new content. Make it easy for people to find those pet friendly homes. I can even preview it, although I'm not sure that I have any. Oh, I do. I have many pet friendly homes available in this MLS, which is great. And you can see above my content, I have this little subheader that shows all this unique content as well. So that's what I have for now. Do we have any questions about any of that stuff I went over? If some of this stuff confused you or you just don't have the bandwidth to do this, our developers don't do any of this, but we do have developer partners, some of which are actually joining us here on this webinar. And so if you go to idxbroker.com, you can do a search and find some people that are going to be able to help you. In fact, here, let's go to .com. You can just go up here, find a developer. You can search for some of our experts here who are more than familiar with the IDX Broker content with SEO. You can even do a search for what version you want, if you want them to be fluent in social media, or what platform they work on. And you can find somebody that can certainly help you there. You can certainly have more than one link on your site. You can only have one URL for IDX Broker. So for the subdomain, you can just have one of those. You'd have to have another IDX Broker account to go ahead and put another site or another URL on that. That's all I got. Thanks for joining us and have a wonderful rest of your week, guys.